I will introduce our 2026 GLAR first vice president and the founder slash current leader for the Sustainability Workgroup, Christian Grusk. Please start us off.
Hello, good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for joining us today for this event, which name is Creating Sustainability Value Inside and Outside. So, as you know, climate risks such as wildfires and are reshaping house across Southern California, and sustainability is becoming a practical part of home ownership. For us as real estate professional, it's essential to understand that upgrades such as energy efficiency, electrification, and climate appropriate landscaping are key to improve resilience, livability, and long-term property value. And I will add as well that it's a really important issue for us. So you will hear today from our two panelists, Akanksha Mathur from Elephant Energy, she's the LA General Manager, and Cassy Aoyagi from FormLA Landscaping President. And they will be introduced by Izumi Tanaka, who is our organizer is the one who has organized all of this. And thank you so much, Izumi, for bringing all these nice people with us. So please don't hesitate to submit your question, and our staff liaison, Gary, will address them at the end. But before we begin, I hand over to Aaron Leider, our GLAR past president and a member of our working group, who will introduce the webinar. Aaron, the floor is yours. Instead, Gary wants to talk. I don't know.
Yeah, thank you, Christian, for the introduction. Before we get our panel speakers, we would like to just provide a quick, brief background on this topic and why it's important. Aaron Leider, our speaker, is a past president from GLAR, a member of our sustainability work group, a broker associate and estates director at the agency RE, and a director at the C.A.R. Association of Realtors, where he serves on the Environmental and Land Use Committee. Aaron, can you give us a background, please?
Sure thing. Can we have the Paradise fire, please?
Oh,
Awesome, thank you. So one of the, as we're talking today, I wanted to come at this in two ways. One is, what have we learned from these fires that have been around us, that have been happening? And two, how does it affect you as a real estate agent? I'm sure many of you have been affected by the difficulty or the high prices of insurance. That's probably been a thing that is now part of the deal. And insurance is almost coming up to almost 20% now of expenses for people. So it's a major change. So I'm going to really quickly go through what we've learned. And the Paradise Fire was one that we learned a lot from. And here's why we learned a lot from the Paradise Fire. It was kind of, it's the older fire. But what we learned is landscaping burns. And the Paradise Fire, the homes there were super, super lush. Most of the homes had green growing on the actual houses. And the consideration for the landscaping really wasn't taken in or possibly even recognized as an issue for people. So we kind of learned from that landscaping can be really important. And then here we go to the Palisades. And then we get to the Palisades. And you're seeing a picture right now of the Alphabet Streets. And that's the tightest place in the Palisade. The homes are closest together there. And this fire had multiple things happening to it. And probably the most important thing and why it was such a devastating fire is that we had winds of 80 to 100 miles an hour that evening, and no firefighting equipment can fly, and there was very little, if anything, could be done to stop the fire. I want you to share with you the intensity of that fire. We go to the next slide. I actually have a press pass, and I was able to get in there the next day. And this is a home that was destroyed. Now, this is in the Huntington part of the Palisades. Not a lot of congestion there. The houses are all spaced out pretty far. But I want you to see if you look, you can see the actual steel beams that have collapsed in that house. And if you notice, the landscaping didn't even burn in places. And yet it was hot enough to burn steel. Next picture, please. And also to show you the intensity of the fire, you see this orange tree. It just struck me that how the front of the oranges were burned and the back of the oranges were not. And fire is a pretty kind of fascinating thing. Next picture, please. Now, what's interesting about this picture, this is the roads were just lined with cars. But if you kind of look at the pieces, and again, the intensity of the heat, you start to see where the car actually starts to melt. And that's because it was an incredibly hot burning fire. Next picture. Again, this is steel structure that collapsed during the fire. And you see some of it is standing, but also I want you to make note where some of it has come apart and is actually bent. Next picture. And again, steel structures where you see they've kind of gone to the side. And then you can also see in the background a house untouched by the fire. And that's always a fascinating, well, devastating, but fascinating thing we observe in fires. Next one.
That's it.
Oh, there was one more of a car. Okay. I can go on. What I wanted to show you, there was a luxury car that burned that had aluminum wheels, and the aluminum, like blood, just comes pouring off of the car. The intensity of the heat was that strong that the aluminum just kind of rolled down the curb from that car. So we have insurance matters. Let me tell you what we do at the California Association of Realtors. And we do this in support of every single agent in our association. And we are trying to work on two fronts. We're working on the insurance front to make insurance affordable and to make it even a possibility to get for us so we can keep doing our transactions. And then the other thing is we work to not have, when you go to do a sale, that what we call point of interest charge, point of sale charges. Meaning it could come up that you would have to make your home fireproof to the degree of the new standards that are coming out just to sell it. And that would prohibit a lot of homes from being sold. So although we want homes to be safer, we also want them to be, we want to be able to keep our industry healthy. As a last thought for all of you that are on here, I want you to go home, take a look at your house, and I want you to look at your landscaping. I want you to look at the trees that are hanging on your roof. I want you to look at your open beams, wood beams, and just think about embers flying through the air and finding a place to land. Because that's what's going to take your house out and why some houses stand and some don't. One thing we have learned, and also I studied the Maui fire, one thing that we have learned is a steel roof, probably the best thing one could have as far as housing protection. You could have all the houses gone in Malibu, houses gone for a quarter mile to the right, quarter mile to the left, and one sole house standing that had a steel aluminum roof. And with that, I'm going to turn it back to Gary and looking forward to hearing our experts speak.
Thank you. I really appreciate it. Our next speaker is going to be one of our panelists, Akanksha Mathur. With a background in mechanical engineering, she is a board member at Women in Clean Tech and Sustainability. With over 18 years of experience leading energy portfolios across 20 countries for Fortune 500 companies, she has driven sustainability initiatives that deliver both environmental and impact revenue growth. Prior to Elephant Energy, she served as the global SAP deployment manager at Schlumberger and was also the director of business and sales operations at Wallbox Chargers. She's deeply committed to purpose-driven work, which continues to guide her impact in the sustainability space today.
Thank you so much, Gary, and thank you for having me here. Just adding to what Gary mentioned about my career. Out of the 19 years in energy industry, 15 of those, the first 15 years I spent in oil and gas industry. And then I became a mom and I decided I should be doing something better with my skills and learnings. And I left oil and gas and I came to sustainability and clean tech. And the second part of how Gary introduced me is what I plan to do with the rest of my career. So I started in EV charging, now working in the home electrification industry with the sole focus of sharing more knowledge with people because that day in, day out, that's what we keep learning. It's not about that the homeowners or residents do not want to adopt home electrification. It's about they don't know about electrification or they're two big words, and like there are very less resources which actually break it down and meet where everyone is at. So my objective for today with my slides is basically really simplify the definition of home electrification and just share some resources with the group who probably will be helping spread this information further with the key audience. So with that, as Gary mentioned, I'm currently working as general manager with in Southern California with Elephant Energy, which is a certified B Corp. And the key mission, the sole mission for our team is to make the home upgrade process simple, transparent, and easy for the homeowners and the residents. When I say that, what it means is there I'm just literally coming from a heat pump week event at Lacey, where we had the LA County presenters, LA City presenters talking about how the state is putting plans and policies together to promote and then also make the home electrification and the efforts accessible to everybody. And it just tie in so well, and it's like the timing is perfect to be talking about this topic. A little bit more. I think the reason I'm here is because we have installed over 2,000 heat pump systems across 3 states. And being the certified B Corp, one of the sole objective is to tell more people about this technology and how everyone can move at their own pace. Starting with what does home electrification mean when you hear that? So in very simple words, these are the 4 appliances in any home that consume most of the energy that any family does, right? Starting with the space heating and cooling, starting with how are we heating our water, starting with gas range, and then obviously our EVs. What does home electrification looks in practice is basically replacing your gas heating and cooling systems with an all-electric system, which could be heat pumps, which come in different shapes and sizes, replacing the gas water heater with your heat pump water heater, replacing your gas range with induction cook stove, and then the most well-known, which is driving an EV instead of a gas car. So overall, if putting it very simply, these are the 4 key pieces of the puzzle when it comes to home electrification. What is a heat pump? It's not the best name that whoever came up with. It's basically an HVAC. It's an all-electric HVAC. It's a 2-way AC, which does heating and cooling both. Anytime I'm at an event or tabling at a Earth Day fair, the simplest way that I like to explain when someone is trying to understand what a heat pump is, like all of us have a heat pump in our kitchen, which is your refrigerator, which is not burning fossil fuel to generate heat. It just moves heat from one zone to other. And that's exactly what heat pump does in reverse, which is moving heat from one zone to other zone without burning fossil fuel. Anyone with engineering mind in the audience, a little bit more technical slide out here, but just to highlight on what a heat pump system basically comprises of, or what does it look like. Most of us are very familiar with those really big square-shaped or cube-shaped big condensers that we have in the homes, which have heating and cooling. So heat pump is also includes an outdoor condenser, but it's much better looking, smaller footprint, and the most favorite feature of most homeowners is how quiet it is. And some of the people they just don't like the sound of that fan going, really on and off in the backyard. So that's one reason that a lot of homeowners turn towards this system. So that's the outdoor unit, which is a condenser, and then it is connected to the inside unit, which could be your mini splits. A lot of us are familiar with the term mini split. or a ducted heat pump inside. And it's connected through a refrigerant line, which is basically, as we see at the back of our fridge again, those refrigerant line carrying the fluid, moving the heat around. It's the same science. And the second picture is of a heat pump. Water heater works on the same logic. It's just slightly higher than the standard water heaters because it has the top unit where you see the number two, which is basically moving heat from one zone to other to heat the water up for your home. Some pictures of mini splits. We keep every day we talk to someone who's trying to understand home electrification. Heat pump is not that a well-known term, but mini split, people are familiar with mini splits, which is your room by room control. Within a family, my kids like their room warmer. I like my room colder. So we are seeing a lot of traction when people are rebuilding, the people who were impacted by fires, either they're rebuilding or just retrofitting their existing homes. Like more interested in these units because they are room by room. So it's like at the comfort level, everyone is happy and everyone can keep their area up to their comfort level. Another ductless system that we are realizing that people are not familiar with. A lot of people don't like mini splits or wall heads, either just the look of it. I don't like something hanging off my wall, or there is no space in some of those really tiny, tight LA homes. Ceiling cassettes are an alternate equipment that we have installed, which basically, if there's an attic space or open space above your ceiling, it just goes and fits in there. A lot of LA homes, again, traditionally do not have
How
heating and
come you're not
cooling.
working on that, dealing with those area rugs? Are you waiting for me to do it?
Esperanza, we'll have a section for questions after, if that's
It's
okay.
not gonna be dry the way it is.
We'll
Sitting
have questions
there
after. Thank
for that.
you. Sorry, Akanksha, continue.
No worries, no worries. I thought there was a question. Yeah, so I was just saying that this like there are a lot of different options based on what any homeowner would be comfortable with or how they want their home to look like. Some floor-mounted units, which is basically, again, they can go on the floor, they can go inside the home. They don't go on the top of the wall, but it's more on the lower. You see some of these in the hotel rooms, if you have noticed. Some of my favorite pictures of condensers, like homes which have solar. It's the next obvious step for a lot of homeowners is to get a heat pump, just because you're using the energy that you're producing in your home, making you less dependent on the grid, and reducing your utility bills because you are eliminating your gas usage, which is like your furnace is the biggest user of gas for any home that has it currently. Moving on to why electrify. The topmost reason that we constantly feedback that we get for people to electrify is comfort. So I have a couple slides up front to go in a little bit more depth, but on a very high level, heat pumps or mini splits, they work on something called inverter technology, which means the system doesn't shut off and shut on, like turn on, when it reaches a certain temperature inside the home. It keeps the temperature consistent around, which means that it's not taking 3 times the energy to turn it back up. It's on. So the efficiency of a heat pump compared to a gas furnace or the traditional unit is up to 4 times more, which means that for the same amount of energy being consumed, a heat pump would produce 4 times more heating or cooling, which obviously, like if even if your system is consistently on, but it's producing more heat or cool, like your temperature adjustment would be according to that. Over time, your energy usage goes down, which means your utility costs go down. The second reason, health and safety. Going back to what Aaron was talking around the fires, LA has been having consistent concerns around the smog, the air quality, because of these fires. Because heat pumps are not burning fossil fuel in a controlled fire setup inside your home. They are eliminating the source of pollutants, allergens, carbon monoxide, and so on. And because it's filtering the same air to keep moving the air across, the filtration system is at much higher technology, which means that it's basically improving the indoor air quality to a much higher standards. And I feel the third one, which probably might be the most relevant to the audience today, is the home value. Um, we have seen a lot of studies and came across the case studies that any home which is ready to be electrified or has been electrified, the home value can go up to 4 to 7%, because it's future ready with all the policy shifts and everything happening, particularly in state of California, where we see so many climate conscious residents and policymakers, where you know the it's just promoting off fossil fuel dependency. And last but not least, um, we use more energy efficient systems, which means less energy consumption, less carbon footprint over longer time, which is better for a healthy living and sustainability lifestyle. Um, I won't go through the very depth or read through the slides here, but going back to why it's better comfort. Anyone who has switched to a heat pump, the only feedback we have gotten from every homeowner that we have talked to is, I love my system because it's not blowing that hot or like that gush of hot and cold air at my face anymore. It's like just keeping it comfortable at 72 degrees like I want it to. And it's variable speed. Again, going back to adding to the efficiency and just tailored to every family member needs, depending on if you opt for a ducted system or you go for a ductless system. Wildfire, a little bit on the health and safety. So something that I did not know until a year back, that out of the 26 year of data on the air quality that US has, out of those 26 years, 25 out the 25 last 25 years, Los Angeles has topped in that ranking with having being the most smoggiest city across the nation. And these wildfires don't help with what we are dealing with right now. So we learned from a lot of younger families who are concerned about the AQIs getting really high. They have infants and they have newborns. So a lot of that has been another top reason why people are opting for not burning fossil fuel to generate heating in the home, but turning into this one system which takes care of heating and cooling both. And then rising heat. Traditionally, we keep seeing LA has a um, lot of traditional homes which never needed cooling. Uh, but we already have seen 100 degrees spring days, and people are starting to think they need to start looking for cooling options in their home because temperatures are only rising across everywhere. And going back to lower bills, again, it's because it's up to 4 times more efficient overall. Utility bills go down over time, again, depending on how you're using the system, how insulated your home is, because insulation and how leaky your home is plays a huge role on the efficiency of these systems when you're installing these in your home. And eventually, we have seen homeowners starting to see like dip in their utility bills over time. And I'm gonna jump on to basic points that I come across while exploring like the key selling points, or how do you connect all this information to when our audience today are either talking to a homeowner or working on a project or a sale or so on. Some of the very basic thing that I think easy takeaways could be, if a home already has a 200 amp panel, and some those circuit breakers which are empty, that home is ready for electrification, right? So if someone is getting ready to buy a home or sell a home, that could be a great selling point that that home is future ready. condenser footprint. For anyone considering heat pump, as mentioned, these outdoor condensers are way more slimmer and quieter than a traditional system. And space is a premium in LA. Like I have never, before I moved to LA, I had not seen like really big families living in a very beautiful, nice home, but like 600 square feet, 700 square feet, really a smaller home. So having these really compact unit kind of opens up space, which could be a great attraction for a lot of people looking to buy or sell home. And the final one is a resource to have if any of your customers are considering or exploring their option. Switch is on is a nonprofit which is backed by multiple organizations within California. On their website, they have a list of vetted contractors. You can go there and check out what incentives are available for your home. So a great resource to share out. Very quickly, I'm probably coming up on my time, Gary, I believe. So I'm going to quickly wrap it up. Incentives, right? Like a very common perception of home electrification is that it's expensive. And yes, the upfront investment can look like a big cost. However, because there are there are so many initiatives which are state-led and different city-led. A lot of utilities are coming up with incentives. Just as an example, LADWP right now is offering up to $2,500 per ton for a heat pump, or $2,500 for a water heater. Same Glendale utility, Burbank utility, Pasadena utility. SCE is coming up with a new program in next 2 weeks, end of April, for SCE homeowners. With the whole objective is to how to make this switch or this transition more affordable for homeowners. And then besides that, there are a lot of other financing options available at a very attractive rates for anyone who's interested. And I think this is one of my final slides. We get asked this question a lot every time I'm meeting homeowners. How much do these systems cost? While it's very hard to put a number because these systems are supposed to be custom designed for each home because every home is different, homeowner needs are different. Some want ducted, some want mini splits. So it's very hard to just put a number. But I did want to bring up like an example just to have, some reference or benchmark in the head. This is from a project we recently did for a LADWP homeowner who had 1,000 square feet, 2-bed, 2-bath home. They did not have ducts in their home. They wanted mini splits. So we did 2 wall heads and a ceiling cassette. And the top line cost for that, including permits, the system design, the consultation, site walks, permitting, inspection, equipment and installation. So pretty much all in one came out to be $19,000. But with the help of the DWP incentives, the out-of-pocket cost for the homeowner went down by 25%. And these are only some of the example of incentives out there. In 2025, there are a lot of state level or region level incentives which are on pause right now. But as we move towards summer, they all are getting ready to come back. So, but the only thing is like these incentives come and go without any warning because the moment funding comes out, anyone who's actually serious about these transition, they get on the list first, they make use of these incentives and the funding gets exhausted. So just to note that these incentives are currently active for any homeowner who might be interested in this transition. And most of these things I mentioned already, as mentioned, like the key takeaways from these slides, future-proof badge for a home, which is either electrification ready or electrified already. I learned during my research that in MLS, I believe there are now some field which the agents can select, which can be flagging the value for the appraisals. And the solar synergy math, if a home already has existing solar, heat pump is like peanut butter jelly with solar, which is basically you are just consuming what you're producing and overall reducing your footprint on the grid. And just some information to share out as resources with anyone who might be interested in
Great.
exploring
Thank you
their
so much,
options.
Akanksha. I really
Yeah.
appreciate it. Please feel free to reach out to Akanksha if you have any more questions. We're going to move on to our next speaker, and then we're going to have time for any Q&A if anyone is curious or has any follow-up questions for any of these presentations. So moving on to our next speaker, Cassy Aoyagi and her full service team at FormLA Landscaping believe LA's authentic beauty can save the city, so they bring it. The more than 2 million square feet of native habitat they've created boosts LA's resilience to drought, fire, floods, slides, heat, as well as health and economic disparities. In concert with fire agencies, they've created fire-prepared demonstration gardens from Calabasas to Sierra Madre. Cassy is a LEED and Sites accredited practitioner, member of LA Regional Planning's Significant Ecological Areas Technical Advisory Committee, past board member of USGBC California, and past president of the Theodore Payne Foundation. Thank you so much, Cassy, for having us.
Well, thank you, Gary, and thank you to Izumi for inviting me. I'm so glad to be here and excited to build on the information that Elephant Energy provided. Let's see, sorry, I'm having a little trouble with my slide. Oh, there we go. I've worked with a lot of realtors over the years, and I see how high pressure their work is. And today I hope to take some of that pressure off and show you some easy ways to boost both sustainability and ROI. So much of our work delivers exactly what the real estate industry and your clients need. Number one, we get curb appeal that boosts sales and home value, joy and connection, which you don't put a price on. And now more than ever, sustainability and improved safety, which Aaron alluded to already, and I'll speak a little more about. According to the National Association of Realtors, landscape investments deliver the highest cost recovery aligned with sustainability and fire safety. And needless to say, joy is above a 9 in all categories. This photo on the left always reminds me of how this client of ours used to spend his weekends obsessing over his perfect lawn, sucking down mower fumes, putting down chemicals, and wearing ear protectors. So when neighbors walked by and waved, there was no interaction. And this is what his garden looks like now on the right. And now he gets to stop and chat with his neighbors, smell the blooms, and he's in his garden pruning, but it's not his second job. It's his joy. And if studies are showing that we can recoup 100 to 250% on maintenance, we can increase that more when we reduce lawns and eliminate chemicals. In our own business, one of our most successful strategies that attracts new clients is providing chemical and emission-free maintenance services. And I know your clients want it, our workers ask for it, but our clients love it. And at the end of the day, a lot of this is also about protecting our clients, their families, pets, and our workers. And those savings really become exponential. And this landscape took baseball-sized embers during the Eaton fire and survived. Also, adding outdoor living spaces through ember-resistant paths and patios is also one of the top ROI features. We saw how important this was during COVID. Whether you had a giant yard or an apartment with a balcony, we needed to get out. All spaces can be designed with optimal usability and livability, expanding the indoor living area to the outdoors. The landscape transformation in this yard, it's starting to create an upward spiral of benefits that checks all the boxes. With layered plants and tree canopy, it's not just lush and beautiful, but it's also cooler. This homeowner can rely on trees instead of expensive structures for outdoor shade, controlling upfront costs, but also saving 50% on indoor heating and cooling. And this property is designed to withstand wildfire. The arrangement of the plants is deliberate, ensconcing each outdoor room with color and texture and beauty. Notice there's no intensive boxed hedges here. The paving creates the clean lines for livability, but also separates the plants into clusters for defensible space. This lowers maintenance and preserves ROI long-term. But it also makes more time to watch pollinators and birds flitter around, which beats staring at the dead grass on the left. Trees and thoughtful arrangements of plants alone, you can see, are already returning 50% on your investment. But also each year the landscape grows, it's adding value to the sale of the home. If you add grant incentives, water, energy, and chemical savings, that ROI grows significantly. And the details matter. So many of the materials can be used to create clean lines and natural flow with permeable patio and walkways, from reclaimed urbanite to poured concrete with gravel joints and decomposed granite and gravel sprinkled with boulders. There's so many imaginative and subtle ways to create safe movement through a yard. And these examples all happen to be in high fire severity zones and demonstrate lush, leafy home protection zones that reduce homes' vulnerability to embers flying in from wildfire and have improved insurability. It's opposite of expanses of concrete and gravel that invite embers right up to the home. I can't tell you how many prospective clients and even realtors have called me asking me to help get the yard ready for a listing within a couple of weeks. There is no way to do that sustainably. You can help your buyer become a seller and start the process early if you want to see the greatest appreciation in value. And I know many of you have long-term relationships with your clients. You've bought and sold many houses together, and you know if they're wanting to sell in the next 3 or 5 or 10 years. So you can get them on the right path to start early. If you haven't planned far enough ahead, we recommend some different strategies, which I'll get into in a little bit. But if you're planning ahead, start with telling your clients to be proactive and patient. Start with small plants. And I hear a lot of complaints about starting with small plants, but believe me, the one thing that plants do in Southern California is grow. Use native foliage that's acclimated to our region. Irrigate with water-saving, low-volume subsurface irrigation. Mulch to save even more water and maintenance. Urge your clients away from visions of instant gratification for their landscape. Those days are over. If we plan ahead, we can be beautiful and ready for sale in 3 years and squeeze out the maximum savings from reducing water, maintenance, and chemicals. But with the same strategy, you've checked another box. You've built a landscape for resilience during drought, deluge, and floods, as well as defensible space during wildfires. All the while, this landscape is growing value each year, and it's ready by the time it's listed. Don't renovate if you need to sell quick. The biggest bang for your buck with no upfront costs that boost home value is a clean space. Spaces like this one can boost home value, curb appeal, and even insurability, not to mention a safe place for firefighters to defend your client's home in case of a fire event. So some of the things you can do with low upfront costs but large results is lay mulch for a pretty finished look, but also a bunch more savings. Preserve and maintain trees so they look healthy and beautiful. We know trees provide one of the largest values to a home. Preserve existing foliage as much as you can and keep them more naturally shaped, because shrubs that are fuller provide more home value than hedged linear shapes. Consider installing a zone 0 like this one if you're in a high fire severity area. Avoid annual color that uses intensive chemicals and energy and doesn't last very long. Adding pottery can be a quick bump in lushness and pops in color for a small investment to improve the aesthetic of a home. As more of your home sales factor in adding a zone 0, there isn't a sacrifice. You can see here, you won't lose the lush leafy tree canopy and curb appeal. It can be maintained and you improve insurability. This home survived because firefighters felt they had a safe and defensible space to stand while everything around this home burned, and that is priceless. This is a really frantic story. While it's a peaceful image, these homeowners called us and gave us, the insurance company gave them 3 days before they canceled their policy, and subsequently their mortgage would have gotten called. So this can happen more and more at the point of sale, so be ready. But the good news, along with all the other good news, is that upgrades that will help you sell can keep you safe and insured, improve your health, and lower energy and other operational costs. And so these gardens can have it all.